Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at a story concerning Miss USA, a contest I thought had long died out, that has a rather fascinating criteria for who is crowned Miss United States of America, who will then go on to Miss Universe, which I'm almost certain leads to massive credibility and totally not objectification. Like I care. They're all hot. Now the reason we're going to be looking at this article is because, well, the headline indicates that she takes a shot at feminism, the winner of this competition. I would like to have a little look at that, along with accompanying videos because, well, they're fascinating, along with the earlier mentioned criteria, because how a winner is picked is quite interesting to me. Miss DC wins Miss USA pageant after dissing man-hating feminism. Social justice warriors suffer meltdown. I don't want to be that guy, but this is already a somewhat misleading article. There are some tweets and some Twitter threads, but at no point do any of them identify as social justice warriors, so I think it's misleading. And also, I'm not entirely sure what the lady says it disses feminism. But I do want to play the questions asked to the two other contestants, along with the eventual winner, so you can understand the answers and the question given. Then we can break down each of the answers and understand better what the article we are also going to be addressing, some more parts of which are somewhat short, as it will then focus more on the tweets to show the salt than anything else.
Minnesota, please join us. What do you consider feminism to be, and do you consider yourself a feminist?
I wonder if anyone's starting to regret Donald Trump selling this to somebody else. I know it's a tangent, but I just wanted to add it in. I'm also interested to know how this question reflects on that person's capacity to operate as the very best Miss USA possible. And we will get into how this is judged and the criteria and the types of contests, because they need lots of research soon enough.
Modern day feminism is not only about supporting other women, it is about being any gender in this entire country, in this world, and not being afraid to lift those up around you. It is about being unapologetically yourself. In this pageant, we have incredible representatives of what it means to be a woman, whether they're on this stage, hosting this pageant with us, or judging the contestants on this stage.
Consider my recent research into Minnesota's laws. It doesn't surprise me that such a culturally and politically correct answer would be given. Now, to address a few of the points that she makes before we move on to the second of three, the third being the eventual winner. You mention many genders. Congratulations, that is very politically correct and very progressive. You also mention feminism's hard work around the world. Great. While you are competing in a competition at the moment called Miss USA, why not focus on what feminism does in your country? It paints a different light, unfortunately.
New Jersey, please join us. What do you consider feminism to be, and do you consider yourself a feminist?
Feminism is striving for equality, and I do consider myself a feminist. I think it's a misconception when people believe that feminism is women being better than men.
When the bar is lowered for one gender, but it's maintained for the other, making it easier for one to get places that others have to work harder to get to, then I firmly believe that not only is one gender being treated as better than the other because the standards are being lowered, but they're also being protected as a class. We see this in law, we see this in education, we see this in employment.
But it's really not. It's a fight for equality. And we need to realize that if we want a stable society, a better future for every single individual, we need to be equal. And that's why I advocate for education for women. As
all of those exist in the United States, I assume this is some kind of prerequisite to Miss Universe. Or was it Miss World? Miss Moon? I can't remember.
Because women are still held back in places of the world. They still don't have that right to their independence, that right to their equality, all because of education. And once we do take that step, I believe that an equal world will be a better world.
Now, this is where I take some issue with the contest and the answers. My issue is that the answers have been given globally, and she certainly indicates this enough with girls being denied education around the world. It is well established It's in the hundreds of millions. Boys and girls. It is utterly disgraceful. And I, of course, understand the concept of doing whatever you have to do to win. But if I was judging this, I'd want to know what you would do, or you would want to do, to deal with issues in your country. But that's just the more patriotic person in me. Oh, hang on, isn't that racist these days? It's so hard to remember. So now we've got those two answers out of the way. Now would be a good time to hear what the eventual winner, Kara, said.
Yes, you do. Absolutely, you get a microphone. Here we go.
So as a woman scientist in the government, I've liked to lately transpose the word feminism to equalism. I don't really want to consider myself... Try not to consider myself like this, like die hard, you know, like, oh, I don't really care about men. But one thing I'm going to say is, though, women, we are just as equal as men when it comes to opportunity in the workplace. And I say firsthand, I have witnessed the impact that women have in leadership in the medical sciences as well as just in the office environment. So as Miss USA, I would hope to promote that type of leadership responsibility globally to so many women worldwide.
Thank you, District of Columbia.
All right, please remove Minnesota's headphones.
I think I'm in love. Now, as far as answers go, it's actually a very good one, because the idea of guilt by association is something she raises when she didn't want to be associated with those that are more man-hating, which do exist, feminists. She also works in a STEM field, which means by extension she promotes the field with what she does. She is the avatar of good choices, career choices. She talks about equality in the workplace, which is brilliant. In fact, I don't see any issue with what she said at all. So now would be a great time to look at some of the triggered little individuals that this article has labelled SJW, but we're going to finish the article because there's only a little bit left on it. Miss District of Columbia Kara McCullough was crowned the new Miss USA Sunday in Las Vegas. The beauty works in the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission as a chemist. Tonight, during the question and answer section, Kara told the audience healthcare is a privilege and not a right, and that creating jobs is important. She said feminism is man-hating. As I am English and have access to the National Health Service because of what I pay in with my national insurance, I'm not going to talk about whether or not healthcare is a privilege or a right. That's a debate for another time. I do want to touch on one little thing, and then we'll get to those tweets. This is what Kara actually said.
I've liked to lately transpose the word feminism to equalism. I don't really want to consider myself... Try not to consider myself like this, like die hard, you know, like, oh, I don't really care about men.
So that in itself is a bit disingenuous. Now to those glorious tweets. Huge fan of hashtag MissUSA, being a black woman and a scientist and advocate for science education, but dang, she could use a class on social issues. As a lot of us have heard quite a number of stories about social classes being very social justice-y or feminist-driven, it would be wise that she doesn't, because everything about it goes against the scientific method that she operates under. Jersey was robbed. I was on board with DC until she gave that sad, uneducated answer on healthcare. Nope. Hashtag MissUSA. A brown girl won hashtag MissUSA, but she thinks affordable healthcare is a privilege and feminism is man-hate, so she's cancelled. Hashtag ByGirl. I've yet to see how a single one of these tweets is indicative of a social justice warrior. Now, a couple of these tweets do have interesting threads, certainly ones regarding healthcare. And also, just to comment on the man-hate part, unfortunately, as most of the feminism we see in popular media is quite man-hating, you have to agree that there are feminists that are man-haters. Yes, not all. Hashtag not all. And as far as healthcare goes, I get the feeling I'm going to have to make a separate video in the near future on whether or not healthcare is a right or a privilege, because it's quite a complicated one, especially from somebody who has it as a right, courtesy of the NHS, which brings up a whole debate on whether or not healthcare should be socialized. Socialized? Is that the correct word? Doesn't matter. There's a couple more tweets I'd like to touch on, and then I want to quickly look at the criteria for this delightful competition. What? No! This is the first hashtag MissUSA I don't approve of. Her answer showed she is uneducated on women and healthcare issues. Feminism doesn't mean you don't care about men. District of Columbia clearly doesn't know a thing about feminism. Okay, so I'm going to have to make a video on the subject of healthcare. Yay! I'm so happy. The last tweet is a bit vague, but after seeing some of the rubbish, like the women's march that went through with people wearing, quotes, pussy hats, it would be safe to assume that the number of people in the District of Columbia that have any good views towards feminism is low. Okay, so now we've gone through the tweets that were in the article, I think now would be a good time to touch upon the criteria and the judging and all the other rubbish that goes within Miss USA to see why it's so damn important that people tweeted the hashtag Miss USA and got incredibly annoyed at some of the answers that the eventual winner gave. Then again, your country is heavily divided on most issues, much like my own country, so it's not surprising there would be negative comments that had been cherry-picked or picked at all and used to make an article that would in fact imply that feminists and social justice warriors and people who want affordable healthcare would get so annoyed over. Participating in the Miss America organization is one of the most rewarding and beneficial experiences available to young women in the United States. Each year, more than 10,000 young women participate at the local, state, and national levels, culminating in the selection of 52 national finalists who compete for the title of Miss America. Benefits of the program: gain valuable experience and develop life skills that will benefit you in everyday life. Earn quality scholarship funds for college and graduate school regardless of whether a title is won. Create awareness of your potential strengths and increase your self-confidence. Find new interests and discover new opportunities. Make lifelong friendships and relationships with your peers as well as other generations. Gain a sense of accomplishment by using your free time in a positive and constructive manner. Learn to set goals, follow them through, and exceed your expectations. Develop a sense of responsibility for helping others. Foster a positive, self-motivated mindset to achieve your goals and receive recognition for your efforts in bettering yourself and your community. Yeah, fuck that. I'm not touching on this. How is this even a thing?